Well, good morning. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for being here to mark a great day for everyone in King County. I'm so excited to be here today in Redmond for the next purchase for Health Through Housing and to be joined by many partners, including Mayor Angela Burney of Redmond. I also want to thank King County Councilmember Claudia Balducci, Senator Patty Cooterer, and Jane Broom from Microsoft for being here, and you'll be hearing from them shortly. Standing here with our partners from the city of Redmond, we're looking at the next step to house our neighbors who've been living chronically homeless. This hotel, with 144 units, joins others we've purchased in Queen Anne, in North Seattle, in Renton, and even more we'll be announcing very soon. It represents a regional solution to a regional challenge, the challenge of chronic homelessness. Health Through Housing is built on the opportunity that this pandemic created. It was an opportunity to rethink our approach to permanent supportive housing for those who are living chronically homeless. We know that when people have a place of their own, a place to rest, to feel safe, to heal, they can take charge of their lives again. I can go on about what's possible when people have a place of their own, but don't take my word for it. The University of Washington came and studied one of our projects that we were working on, moving people from a congregate shelter into a hotel setting. And they said it was, quote, a total life changer. So we know the solution. We have seen it work. A place of your own where instead of sleeping with one eye open, you can finally just sleep. But instead of waiting to build new expensive units that cost $400,000 or more and may take 3 or 4 years to get sited and built, Health Through Housing is about action today. Shoulder to shoulder with the city of Redmond, we will be working with the local community to get this building ready for guests to come in from the street into a home. With the rest of the purchases in the Health Through Housing network, we're rapidly scaling up this solution. By the time we're done next year, we'll have more than 1,600 units up and running. The rapid pace, the scale, the innovation. I know those aren't phrases that always come to mind when you think about government, but we are acting today because we now have the opportunity and we are not going to hesitate to act. We can shape the future, a future where every person in King County has that opportunity to thrive, but only if we are willing to meet the challenges of this moment, the moment we face today. We can keep pointing fingers toward someone else, saying homelessness is their responsibility, or we can join hands and work together and help those who are most in need. And that's what's exciting about this moment, working with Mayor Burney in the city of Redmond. We are looking at a testament to what's possible and what the people of King County should expect of their leaders. We know today that when it comes to chronic homelessness, it's not just a downtown Seattle problem, and it is not a urban-suburban divide. I promise you, every region of this county has or has been the home to people who are today living in the street. Global income inequality, or the cost of housing and the tight housing supply born of the very economic success our region has seen, has caused too many of our friends and neighbors to be pushed out of homes that they can afford. Well, no matter what city or town a person is in today, the people of King County should know this. The county and cities like Redmond and Renton and more to come are working together with a distinct bias toward action to build a regional solution to chronic homelessness. So once again, it is a tremendous honor to be here today to announce the purchase of this very high quality 144 unit hotel, which within just a matter of weeks will become home to people who have been living chronically homeless for over a year. And they will have the services to keep them housed, to help them get their lives back on track. This is an exciting moment for King County and for the city of Redmond. And so it's my pleasure to introduce now our partner and a leader of this community, really, that has stepped up. Because it is the entire community that has stepped up to the challenge and working to build a solution. Please join me in welcoming Redmond Mayor Angela Burney.
Well, thank you, Executive Constantine, for your introduction, and thank you for your vision and leadership with the Health Through Housing program. Homelessness is a regional crisis. It is not one any single city can fix on their own. Therefore, Redmond is pleased to join with King County and many other cities in our region to be a partner in a regional solution. We must work together across sectors and geographic boundaries to find solutions that are effective for those experiencing homelessness and that allow our communities to continue to thrive. Redmond has been at the forefront of this crisis, beginning with our Community Task Force on Homelessness, where members of all sectors of our community came together to identify actions that could make positive impacts to reduce homelessness. One outcome was investing in approaches just like this, collaborating with King County and neighboring cities in support of regional strategies and best practices for addressing homelessness. Another was hiring the first homeless outreach coordinator in East King County. In over 4 years, we have successfully connected many individuals and families experiencing homelessness in our community to housing and other resources. This is a complex challenge, both for those who become homeless as well as for communities in which they reside. Through our partnerships with our regional partners like King County, as well as businesses, nonprofits, and our community, we can make real progress to reduce homelessness in our region. I want to recognize and thank King County and One Redmond staff. They have been meeting with neighboring businesses to provide information on this project and the overall Health Through Housing program, and they have been answering questions and taking note of local concerns. We are committed to working with the county and the future operators of this facility, as well as with individuals and businesses in our community towards the success of this program. Thank you again, Executive Constantine, for making this aggressive and necessary step towards real progress and solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Burney. Your city has been remarkable. Your administration has been remarkable in working for real regional solutions on this, on transportation, and many other challenging issues. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you a true leader in King County government. We are in her council district right now, but she is also the chair of the King County Council and a leader in many of our regional efforts, from high-capacity transit to regional planning at the Puget Sound Regional Council. Council Chair Claudia Balducci.
Thank you so much, Dow. Thank you, Mayor Burney. This is a really great day. We know that, and we have said often, that homelessness is a regional problem and it requires a regional solution. This is what a regional solution looks like. It looks like the governments of King County coming together with a smart, effective, and fast way to address the problems that we see in our communities. As Executive Constantine said, we learned a very important lesson during COVID-19 when we very suddenly had to move people out of congregate shelters where people slept on mats on the floor or on cots. We had to move them someplace where they wouldn't just easily transfer the virus to one another. And so we moved away from congregate shelter and into these kind of single room settings. And we learned what makes a lot of sense, but was a new thing for us, that when you give a person experiencing homelessness a door, privacy, a place to store their belongings, and security, it makes a huge difference in their ability to stabilize, to take care of their health, both physical and mental health, and to start thinking about how they can move from homelessness to housing. They can start planning for the future instead of struggling to exist safely in the moment. Many people still think of homelessness as a Seattle problem, but we know here in East King County that it is a problem everywhere in King County, including in our backyard. I'm really thrilled to see this health through housing effort take root in the East Side and for us to be part of the solution. This is not the beginning of our partnership here in East King County. It was about 10 years ago when the cities of Kirkland, Redmond, and Bellevue all got together, saw that there was a lack of emergency shelter on the East Side, and made an agreement that each city would host a shelter that would serve youth in Redmond and young people and young adults. Women and families in Kirkland opened a couple of years ago, and men in Bellevue. And we just approved the purchase and sale agreement yesterday to sell a piece of property in Bellevue to a partnership of providers that are going to provide a shelter, permanent supportive housing, and transitional housing. So we are starting to see all of the pieces that are needed to really, truly begin to think about ending homelessness in East King County come to life right now. The big difference with this today is this was conceived less than a year and a half ago and is here today and will be open in the next few weeks as compared to the 10 years it took us to get to the point of finding a location for a men's shelter. I'm so proud of the East Side and our partners at the East Side cities for the progress that we're making together. I know we will continue to work together. I thank the city of Redmond and our other city partners. We're actually largely surrounded by Bellevue right here in District 6. And I look forward to continuing to work as King County with our partners to implement long-term solutions that will change people's lives. Thank you.
You know, I mentioned this is a moment of opportunity. Opportunity in many ways created by the pandemic. Well, we have seen a lot of changes over the course of the last couple of years that have put us in a position to act boldly, quickly, at scale, at a scale that is a match for the challenge we face. And our next speaker has been a local leader here on the East Side, but is now a state leader in the state legislature, which has delivered the main tool that we are able to wield here locally to create this Health Through Housing initiative. Please welcome 48th District State Senator Patty Kuderer.
Thank you, Executive Constantine, Mayor Bernie. I want to thank everyone up here for your leadership in addressing the chronic issue or the issue of chronic homelessness. And I want to start by saying that 3 years ago, the state legislature in the Senate, we created a committee dedicated to housing issues. It was called Housing Stability and Affordability. And its goal was to take a deep look into homelessness and our housing inaffordability that we see throughout the state. This is not, as has been said before, this is not just a Seattle problem. What we learned over the last 3 years is that this is a statewide problem, and it's very serious. And there are different populations of people who are homeless for various reasons. And as we looked at it more closely, we realized that we cannot have a one-size-fits-all. And whatever solutions we were going to pass on a policy basis at the state level was going to have to be working on the ground level. We knew it was going to have to be an intergovernmental effort. Cooperation, collaboration between the state, the county, and the cities. And what you see here with this purchase of the Red Lion Inn is a prime example of that collaboration, where the policy that we enacted at the legislature to allow local governments to enact use a portion of their sales tax to purchase buildings like this, to use for affordable housing, and to address homelessness. This is an example of it working. The collaboration that you saw between the county and the city to make sure that we had the right building, to make sure it is located in an area that was close to transit, to help people get back on their feet and get back to work. And you heard Councilmember Balducci talk about what King County did when COVID hit. We had to very quickly de-intensify those congregate shelters and move people into hotels and motels, which at the time, because of the shutdown, were empty. And she told you the results. And we had a working session at the state legislature and found those results to be compelling. We know we have to leave the congregate shelter behind. We want to be investing more in this kind of a solution because we see more rapid transition out of homelessness and into permanent housing. And people will need permanent supportive housing. And so we have dedicated, at last count, over $350 million into the Housing Trust Fund to help with services like that and also to build more affordable housing. So as you see here, this is the product of good government. Tax dollars are being effectively and efficiently used. And I look forward to seeing more of this type of approach to addressing chronic homelessness. And I also invite the local governments here to continue collaborating with us as we work to refine our policies to make sure that they work for you. And they work for you and you. And with that, I want to thank everyone again for your ongoing efforts. This is a blessed mission, and we feel very deeply at the state legislature level that this is something that we can solve. Thank you.
So our last speaker, and we'll take questions after that, represents a company that has stepped up time and time again to help with regional challenges. They were there when we were working hard to create a regional transit system, and in part because of their help, high-capacity rail will open to Redmond in just 2 years' time. They were there when the COVID crisis hit, during the very first moments, and helped throughout the crisis to keep people safe and ultimately to create about the best vaccine clinic anywhere in this nation. And they have been there on housing and homelessness, stepping up with hundreds of millions of dollars to help with the affordable housing crisis in our region. So I'd like to introduce to you a representative of one of Redmond's fine small businesses, from Microsoft, Jane Broom.
Hi, everybody. Jane Broom with Microsoft Philanthropies. It is an absolute delight to be here today. It has been just over 2.5 years that Microsoft announced its commitment to work on affordable housing across this region. That commitment is about housing for everybody and across income levels. That means people who are facing homelessness all the way up to low-income housing and middle-income housing as well. This region is growing so much. We all know why, because it's one of the best places in the world to live and raise your family. And for us at Microsoft, we've had such a great opportunity to grow in this community, and we feel a great responsibility to help make sure that it is livable for everybody who wants to live here and work here. That's why our commitment has been what it has been. But with the affordable housing work, we knew from the get-go it was about capital and more money and more investment into this issue. But perhaps more importantly, it's the region working together collaboratively with the private sector and the public sector to really change policies, build public support, build public will, and ultimately to act and to actually move this work forward. This is a great example of that. You said 1.5 years that it's been the Health Through Housing work. That is incredible. And we are super excited to be here today. Our new campus is being developed, not even a mile away. We are eager to welcome our new neighbors. We are eager to help support the community and welcome these, hopefully more than 144 new people to our community, and we'll be here. Thank you for this. We need more of this kind of solution throughout the region. We are so delighted to have the city of Redmond, Mayor Bernie, step up to support this kind of work. We need all the cities across the county to help support the same issue. So thank you all so much, and We're excited for for when the residents first move in. Thank you very much for this great work.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane. So yes, the timeline has been quick. I mean, we began moving people from congregate shelters into hotels to prevent the spread of COVID about a year and a half ago. We ultimately launched into the Health Through Housing initiative and started being able to collect the revenue to buy these hotels January 1st. This is a 6-month-old program, and we already have, I think, over 400 units, Leo, now, and on our way to 1,600. This is very, very rapid change on one of the most vexing challenges we've had in our region, and I cannot wait to be able to announce to you some more hotels and other buildings that we are purchasing. Leo, I want you to scoot a little closer. This is Leo Flor, who's the director of the Department of Community and Human Services, and he is probably the best equipped to answer any sort of technical questions you might have about this, but we'd be happy to answer whatever questions you might have.
All right, sir, I'll kick it off. When can people move in? Like, when will residents actually be in this building?
So on each of these buildings that we're acquiring, there's some physical work that needs to be accomplished, and then we need to identify the right service provider because we have 24-hour on-site services here. And we do that in collaboration with the city governments. So I'll let Leo address Redmond, the Redmond Hotel specifically, but on each of these, we will be aligning the city and the facility with the right provider for that community. Leo.
Thanks, Dow. So the question is, when will we have folks beginning to move in? We will, in a couple of weeks here, work with the City of Redmond to select an operator. We'll continue to speak to the community around here so that we're ready to welcome new neighbors as they come in. And we think we'll have the first folks moving into this building this fall.
All right.
Others.
Is this for people in the area only, or if somebody wanted to relocate from Seattle, how does it work with the placements?
So first, one of the requirements of the state law and one of our the partnerships that we're really proud of is that we'll be working with the City of Redmond to be able to identify people who are experiencing homelessness here and have them be able to get housing in their own community. It will also be a regional resource, and so people who end up living in this building will have been identified by outreach teams. They'll been engaged and stabilized, and then that's the method that they'll be able to use to move in here. It's not a place where you would walk up and ask for a room and be able to move in that day. You'll have to work through outreach providers.
How did the purchase happen? Was this building for sale already? Or was it market value, below market because it's for a good cause? Or how did the sale?
So one of the key points of the pandemic, the executive, many folks have mentioned that there was an opportunity. There is no industry that was hit harder than the hospitality industry over the last 18 months. Hotel occupancies were at record lows, and so we had a temporary economic opportunity to buy properties that are in good condition and to buy them at a per unit cost that is far below what we would spend for permanent supportive housing. Now, this isn't permanent supportive housing. These rooms don't have kitchens, but they have everything but that. And we have these rooms at below $200,000 per unit. And the cost to build new permanent supportive housing in our region right now is upwards of $400,000 a unit. And that cost has gone up more recently with both materials and labor being more expensive than usual.
And sorry, Leo, and I would add, and I don't think you can underestimate the value of this. These are available right now, and it takes a long time to get something built in this region. So we're really excited about being able to move quickly because every day makes a big difference for someone who's been struggling out on the streets. Other questions?
Yeah. When did the light bulb go off? I mean, I understand you said the pandemic kind of spurred this movement, but when did you guys be like, this might work? This is actually.
So the old model really was congregate shelters, so mats on the floor, you get ushered out at 7 in the morning, and then permanent purpose-built supportive housing, which is sort of the gold standard. It takes a long time to get up and running and is tremendously expensive to create. And we had been proceeding on that path as had everyone else. And during COVID, we moved people from congregate shelters into hotels for the specific purpose of preventing the spread of COVID in those congregate shelters, get everyone their own room, and it succeeded. It stopped largely the spread of COVID among people who had been in those congregate shelters where we were seeing outbreaks. But what the providers started to immediately see was that a lot of other good things happened. People's physical health seemed to improve. They were rested, they were having fewer behavioral health crises, and beginning to be more open to the other services we're able to provide, like treatment and job training. And so we brought in the University of Washington to study that and say, is this real? Is this happening? And they said, yes, this is absolutely happening, and it's happening for the simple reason that people now have the security of a place to call their own bed, their own bathroom, some peace and quiet, and a chance to get recentered and get ready to take back their lives. And so we said, that was when the light bulb went. We said, this is what we got to do. And right now, so I'm talking about a year ago, is when all these hotels are empty and we can begin negotiating and getting a signature on a purchase and sale agreement to buy them. And that's when we worked with the county council to get the authority, and that's why we are able to announce these now in rapid succession. It's taking advantage of an opportunity to solve a challenge that has been with us for a long time, but we didn't have these opportunities before.
I see the COVID opportunity that you're talking about. Housing first today, you're talking about high building, but it's new. Like I've heard it for years, and I went to some place in Inner Bay, they were talking about housing first and everything, so I don't understand how it's a new concept, but I get the opportunity.
It's a new, yeah. So we know that housing first is critical. It is critical to have security, safety, rest in order for you to be able to accept the other services. The sort of flip side of that is this old-fashioned notion that you need somehow to solve all your problems in life before you're worthy of being handed housing. You know, get in treatment, get a job, then we'll help you get a house. That is not how this works. That's not how people work. They need to have a chance to just get rested and centered so that they can begin to square up to the other challenges they have in life and begin to reclaim their lives. That's not a new concept. What is new is the availability of these buildings and the availability of the funding source that Senator Cooter talked about that is allowing us to move forward rapidly. And we're not going to miss that chance.
Do you know how many buildings ultimately you're going to buy?
We're aiming for 1,600 total units, and the buildings are between approximately 100 and 150 units each. So it will depend on, as we move forward, if they're closer to 100, closer to 150, but it will be, give a range of number of buildings.
We'll end up purchasing and or funding the operations of more than a dozen buildings in this program.
And are you partnering with one chain?
No, we are not partnering with any particular hotel chain. We take the opportunities as they are presented by the market in partnership with local jurisdictions so that it works both economically, as a matter of policy, and for the community.
What was the approximate cost of this acquisition? There you go.
This building was approximately $28 million for 144 rooms. Again, that works out to a per room cost of under $200,000 per room.
Is there a maximum length of stay that you can stay?
There is not, although our goal is for people to get stabilized and then to be able to move on with their lives. So if they are able to get stabilized, get treatment if they need it, get job training, get job connections, and become self-sufficient, that is kind of our ideal, where they can move into a place of their own and be able to pay the rent. There are going to be other people who maybe will be candidates to move to one of our permanent supportive housing units. So they may have really significant underlying challenges where they are going to need ongoing care, and so they would be candidates for a different kind of facility. But for most people, I think a majority of the people who will come here, including those who've been chronically homeless and have some underlying challenge, they do have the ability to reclaim their lives. They do have the ability to exercise agency. And it is our job to help them have the conditions to be able to do that and to move forward with independence.
Is this considered shelter for the purposes of the one-night
No, for the purposes of the one night count, and I think for just the practical experience of living in a building like this is housing, not shelter.
And I want you to be able to see this. This is a high quality building. The buildings we are buying are quality buildings. I think when people heard that we wanted to buy hotels, they conjured up in their minds the picture of a rundown, seedy old place. We are buying relatively new construction, solid, high quality buildings. This is dignified housing. And I think an important part of our commitment is that we are going to accord people dignity, that every person deserves dignity and respect and that opportunity to express their potential and thrive in our community. And this is a very physical manifestation of our commitment to that idea.